Help me reach 7,000 subscribers. Please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback helps make the content better. She was checking her phone at the kitchen counter when I walked in from the regional meeting with takeout in a decent mood. Movie night, I suggested, holding up the bag. Couch, blanket, pick anything that doesn't involve quarterly projections. She didn't even look up. Can't tonight. The marketing team is doing a strategy session. You know how it is. A smile, quick and practiced, like she'd rehearsed it during lunch breaks. Schedule shift. Her fingers moved faster across the screen. Don't wait up. Her hand trembled just enough to make her wedding ring catch the light. That was new. She wasn't nervous. She was calculating. At 8:00 p.m., if I'd known where this was headed, I would have ordered different takeout and called a different lawyer. I set the food down. 10 minutes. Sit. Eat with me. It'll get cold. I promised Rachel I'd review her campaign presentation. Her voice stretched the word promised like taffy. She reached for her designer tote, already packed. You're tense, I said. She laughed too fast. About marketing strategy, please. I watched her slip on shoes she never wore to team meetings. Pointed toe heels, the kind you choose when someone's paying attention to details. Text me when you're headed home, I told her. Why are you my manager now? No, I'm the guy who bought dinner. She pulled the door with her shoulder. Don't be controlling, Brandon. The deadbolt clicked. The house went quiet in that corporate conference room way. Chairs, projectors, nobody present. I ate alone. The food tasted like cardboard with a business plan. Scene 1 opened right there. Kitchen table, 2 plates, 1 used. The message was corporate clear. I started with professional courtesy because that's what executives do before they audit the books. When she got back near midnight, I was reviewing quarterly reports in the home office. She stepped in, phone face down against her chest. You're still up? She asked. I have the Morrison account review at 7. I told you not to wait. I told you to text. I forgot. No, you chose not to. She rolled her eyes. Can we not turn strategy sessions into depositions? Rachel is restructuring her whole department. Then you're her consultant. You always do that analytical thing. I'm not analyzing. I'm pattern recognition. What patterns? She set her tote on the filing cabinet. You're ridiculous. Tuesday strategy session, nervous energy, dressed like a client presentation, no communication, home after business hours, that pattern. She stared, expression flat as a balance sheet. It's work. Good. Then you can respect my schedule. I wiped my reading glasses clean and placed them back. New protocol. If you're working late, you clear it with me first. Quick email. Professional courtesy. I don't report to you. You don't. You partner with me or you operate solo. But I don't run a household where the CFO goes dark on the CEO. She crossed her arms. I'm not an employee. Then it should be simple. She didn't answer. She walked inside, doors closed, shower ran. I went to bed on my side and left her the executive suite. She gave me the silent treatment for 3 days, the kind where every response comes through intermediaries. I kept my tone measured and my calendar optimized. I stopped reaching for her in the hallway. I moved my gym sessions to evenings. If she preferred separate operations, I let the org chart expand. Friday brought a neighborhood barbecue at the Walsh family house. Kevin was grilling, his wife Sandra mixing drinks. I figured public networking is good for partnerships. Melissa stayed on her phone, thumbs moving like she was trading stocks. I was monitoring the grill temperature when Sandra approached. Everything okay with the regional office? Sandra asked, nodding toward Melissa. She looks like she's managing a crisis. She's fine, I said, because men say that until the audit reveals otherwise. Rachel arrived in a leather jacket and performance-level enthusiasm. She hugged Melissa like a merger announcement and didn't acknowledge me. That told me something about the briefings she'd been receiving. Later, by the cooler, Melissa came for a sparkling water. I kept it straightforward. Are we operational? I asked. We're functional. That wasn't the question. She popped the tab. Stop being so corporate. It's not corporate. It's efficient. I raised my voice just enough for Rachel to hear, without making a presentation of it. If you want autonomous operations, schedule them. Communicate. No drama. Rachel's eyebrows went up like stock prices. Melissa's smile went thin as quarterly margins. Public policies now, she said. Public transparency prevents misunderstandings, she scoffed. You don't own my calendar, correct. I own mine. I don't allocate time to question marks. That hit target. I saw it in how she looked at Rachel for backup. Rachel pretended to examine her phone. We ate. The men discussed market trends. I took a call from Kevin about Monday's client presentation and let it run long. It wasn't strategy. It just felt better talking to someone who didn't treat conversation like a hostile takeover. When we got home, she softened for the first time in a week. That was the mid-quarter adjustment, though I didn't have the financial data until later. She stood in the doorway to the bedroom, hair down like off-duty hours. I heard you talking about communication and transparency. You're right, she said. This week was disorganized. Okay. I should have coordinated with you about the strategy sessions. Rachel always needs a crisis to manage. That's not professional, it's accurate. She sat on the edge of the bed. I've been stressed. The new campaign launch, my mother's, health issues. You didn't mention health issues. You were busy with regional targets. I made time. You declined the meetings. She bit her lip. Let me restructure this. How? Dinner tomorrow. Just us. No devices. I nodded once. Good. Execute that plan. She slid a hand onto my knee like a partnership agreement. I held her gaze and let the silence negotiate. We fell asleep with a 2-foot buffer zone between us. She did execute the dinner plan, small Italian place downtown, candlelit tables that wobbled like startup ventures. She was present. We discussed Kevin's promotion. She laughed at my story about the warehouse incident. When the server brought the check, she put her corporate card down first. Don't file this under business expenses, she joked. Noted, I said. Keep the documentation. On the walk to the car, she linked her arm through mine. See? We're back to profitable operations. We're demonstrating improved communication, I answered. That's not the same metric. You always need a problem to solve. No, I need sustainable performance. She didn't respond, but she maintained the connection. Sunday afternoon, I was updating our investment portfolio. She made brownies, the expensive kind with Belgian chocolate, and brought me a piece on company letterhead. Illusion number 1. It tasted like reconciliation and strategic maneuvering. You're productive when you're quiet, she said, half amused. Quiet is efficient, I replied. Better data processing. Monday morning was standard operations. Coffee, market reports, 2 executives on autopilot. I grabbed my travel mug and headed to the office. Kevin asked if I wanted to watch the playoff game at Murphy's Tavern on Wednesday. I said yes. I hadn't said yes to midweek social events in quarters. That was initiative number 2. Time became mine to allocate again. That evening at home, she was on the couch with her laptop. I sat across with my quarterly projections. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. Screen lit up facing me for a full 3 seconds. Hey, same location as last time. 7:30. Really want to see you. No contact name in the preview, just an initial. She reached a beat too late. The data had already downloaded. She swiped, locked, placed the phone on a coaster like classified material. What's the update? I asked. Calm. Too calm. Nothing. Just nothing. Nothing text at 7:26 p.m. with coordinates and scheduling requests. She stared at the blank TV screen. It's a colleague. He's processing a divorce. He wants perspective. I'm providing consultation. Men don't request after-hours consulting from married women. They hire therapists or talk to their golf partners. She inhaled. It's not what you're calculating. What am I calculating? I have to go, she said, standing suddenly. She looked around for shoes kicked under the coffee table. Rachel needs emergency support. Her campaign got rejected. 10 minutes ago, it was quiet operations. Now there's a crisis requiring immediate deployment. Please don't start auditing. I'm not auditing. I'm observing. She grabbed her tote. I'll be back shortly. I didn't stand, didn't negotiate. I nodded once, like a board member when the meeting adjourns. She left. 10 minutes can be innocent. 10 minutes after a text like that is choreographed performance. I cleaned my coffee cup, organized the counter, and opened a new spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are anchor systems when storms disguise themselves as quarterly fluctuations. First line item, schedule consultation with estate planning attorney. Second, document assets under my direct control, house, vehicle, 401k, investment portfolio funded through my commission checks. Third, Maintain operational efficiency. I didn't sleep optimally. At dawn, I drove to Kevin's early and told him I'd be delayed on the Morrison project. He looked at me over his morning coffee. "You good, partner?" "I'm making adjustments. Need backup?" "No," I said. "I need documentation." He grunted. "That kind of Monday morning." Exactly that kind. At the bank, I restructured savings into a secured account under my Social Security number. That money represented years of weekend client meetings and the sale of company stock I never exercised. I wasn't hiding assets. I was protecting what I'd built. I updated beneficiaries. I requested new access cards. I scheduled a meeting with a legal specialist for Tuesday morning. No theatrics, just a procedural checklist. I stopped at the county office. Documentation has a way of resolving disputes that negotiations can't. I completed forms. I reviewed terms. My signature didn't hesitate. The clerk, a man with efficient glasses and practical experience, processed what needed processing. "You certain about this?" he asked. Affirmative. He looked at me the way professionals look at each other when someone cuts a bad contract. All right then. When I got home, she was on the phone on the patio discussing vendor management with someone. Light tone, strategic laugh track. I walked past her, filed the documentation in my office, opened my laptop, and began separating what she had access to from what she didn't. Subscriptions, utilities, passwords, accounts verified, access restructured. I wasn't punitive. I was systematic. If she wanted independent operations, I made them clean. That evening, she attempted illusion number 2. She prepared a full dinner presentation. Salmon with market-fresh vegetables, salad with too many premium ingredients, candles reserved for client entertainment. She wore a soft cashmere sweater I used to compliment. "I wanted to do something special," she said, positioning too close to the stove for operational safety. She reached for my wrist. "We've been out of sync. Let's realign our objectives." "Realignment requires transparency," I replied. "Not performance management. I'm trying to execute here, then maintain eye contact and confirm there's not a colleague texting you for after-hours consultations." She blinked slowly. "You're obsessing over routine communication. I'm verifying data accuracy. You're micromanaging. I'm establishing quality standards." We ate quietly. She kept initiating conversations and abandoning them like failed product launches. After cleanup, she sat beside me on the couch. Her hand moved toward mine. I let it rest on my forearm and didn't reciprocate the contact. "You're cold," she murmured. "I'm matching temperature. That's vindictive. It's a mirror," she sighed. "You can be impossible to work with." Documented. Wednesday, I went to Murphy's with Kevin and his buddy Walsh. We watched the game, criticized coaching decisions, and ate wings that tasted like freedom and poor nutritional choices. My phone stayed on the table, screen visible. Nobody texted coordinates. Walsh looked at me over his beer. "You're quieter than usual quarterly reports. Thinking about restructuring or liquidating?" "About finalizing," I said. He nodded. "There's peace in completion." When I got home, the house was dark. Her car wasn't in the driveway. I sat in mine for a minute, listened to the engine process, then shut it down and went inside. Lights, silence, furniture that felt like witnesses. At 11:58 p.m., I called her, straight to decline, the efficient click of being redirected to voicemail. I called again. Decline. The kind of decline that says, "I'm processing more important business than you." At 12:03 a.m., my screen lit. "Client emergency resolved. I'll call when I'm free. Don't worry," I typed without emotion. "Don't need the call. Stay with him. House is closed to you tonight." I blocked the number. Then I stood. I retrieved the documentation from the office, placed it on the dining table, and pulled 2 suitcases from the hall closet. I packed her professional wardrobe systematically, the way you decommission a workstation, so the next user can't complain about organization. I didn't take everything. Essentials, the pieces she used for daily operations. I set the bags by the front door. On top, I placed the documents, the signatures, the dates, order distilled to legal clarity. I changed the security code. I engaged the chain like punctuation. Then I waited. She arrived 10 minutes after the message. Quick steps on the porch. Key attempting access. The key didn't recognize the system anymore. She knocked, then knocked with increased urgency. "Brandon, open the door. What is this?" I turned the deadbolt. She rushed in, saw the luggage, saw the folder, saw the new operational structure of the house like market conditions after a crash. Her words came fast. "Are you serious? This is insane. You can't lock me out of my own investment. You were out. I secured the property. With business. Associates." She lied with executive-level confidence that deserve performance bonuses. Associates who text you at midnight and request your time like Uber rides. You are paranoid. Your phone disagrees. You're monitoring my communications now? That's illegal. Brandon, I observed a message you left in public view, like a billboard advertisement. You declined my calls twice. Then you informed me you'd reconnect when you were available. Her voice cracked into damage control mode. So I can't have independent professional relationships? I can't have conversations without you auditing every interaction? You've become controlling. Everyone recognizes it. Everyone who? Rachel. My mother. The department. Rachel needs professional development. Your mother needs grandchildren. And the department needs new leadership. She pointed at the bags. This is emotional terrorism. This is consequence management. For what? Consulting with someone, supporting a colleague, for operating outside our partnership agreement, and treating our joint venture like a subsidiary. You manage solo. She scoffed hard enough to rattle her earrings. You're not perfect, Brandon. You work late. You prioritize your clients. You barely acknowledge me half the time. I was here when you didn't show for scheduled meetings. I modified plans when you canceled operations. I requested communication and you called it micromanagement. You're overreacting. No, I said. I'm done reacting. She stared at the folder. What is that documentation? Clarity, I answered. She opened it, read the header, and went still. Her mouth moved, but whatever presentation she'd prepared for different circumstances died there. You filed this morning. You didn't even discuss it with me. I attempted discussions for weeks. You performed coffee theater. You managed me through misdirection. You blindsided me. You operated in stealth mode. She swallowed. You're dissolving a partnership over a text message. I'm liquidating a performance over a pattern. She shook her head. Are you satisfied? You just confirmed every concern I had about you. You're cold. You're punishing. You want total control. I want professional respect in my own organization. She lifted a bag like it contained more than fabric. Where am I supposed to operate from? Somewhere that aligns with your calendar. Brandon, please. Her tone shifted like market sentiment. I made errors. I've been isolated. You've been distant. I didn't know how to communicate with you. I made poor decisions. We can restructure. No restructuring. I kept my voice level. There's nothing to mediate. You submitted your resignation to this partnership. I'm processing it. We can hire consultants. No consultants. I didn't ask for outside analysis. So that's it. You're just terminating the contract. Affirmative. You'll regret this decision. I've regretted not executing it earlier. She grabbed the second bag. What about the assets? The investments? You can't just liquidate everything. I can protect what I built. You can consult whoever you prefer. The numbers are documented. You're going to leave me with minimal resources. You traded something valuable for attention from a stranger. I pointed to the folder. Review page 3. It's equitable. More equitable than your last 2 weeks of operations. You're a monster. No, I said. I'm an executive who learned to stop negotiating with competitors. She stared at me, the way people stare at termination letters when they realize they're legally binding. Then she attempted final strategy. Professional courtesy poured over broken glass. Can we please sit down? 10 minutes. No devices, just us. You had those minutes. You allocated them elsewhere. She opened her mouth to launch another proposal. I raised my hand. Enough. We stood like that for a beat. She finally lifted the bags and stepped onto the porch. The night absorbed her like a parking lot absorbs sound. I placed the folder's copy on the hall table for my records. Then I said the last thing I would ever say to her as a business partner. You exceeded acceptable risk parameters. This is your only operational path now. Execute accordingly. I closed the door. The new code engaged. The chain settled. The house exhaled. I didn't. The following days were not peaceful. That's the myth people sell when they brand clarity as a spa vacation. Reality has better audio quality. She called from numbers I didn't recognize. She used Rachel's phone, her mother's phone, blocked lines that attempted contact 3 times at 3 yourselves a.m. I let voicemail manage the intake. She left extended messages that started with restructuring proposals and ended with litigation threats. Sure, I didn't review most of them. At work, Kevin looked at me over project specifications. Operations stable? I'm busy, I said. Busy is sustainable. Busy is controlled. Rachel appeared at my office one evening like an unsolicited sales call and started without scheduling. You can't just terminate her like that. Do you understand how that appears? Professional networks talk. I rested my arms on the desk. Professional networks would talk if I allowed continued operational dysfunction. She's devastated. She's resourceful. She'll establish new partnerships. You're callous. You're all confusing systematic with callous. She huffed. She said you were always self-centered. I was partnership-centered, I said. She was audience-centered. You're impossible, and you're dismissed. I returned to my projections. That established my public boundary, witnessed, documented, simple. The divorce processed itself because I had established the framework. Numbers got calculated, assets got allocated. The house was mine before we merged operations. The investment portfolio was funded through my commission structure. The savings I'd transferred were legal and transparent. She attempted to negotiate furniture and gifts from her family. I maintained documentation, proposal, counter-proposal, execution. I didn't celebrate. I didn't trade insults. I didn't schedule mediation sessions to process emotions. I provided the same courtesy I expected from vendors. Communicate, deliver, continue operations. In the middle of the restructuring, my neighbor Mrs. Rodriguez caught me at the mailbox. Major transitions, she observed. Her expression showed empathy, not curiosity. Necessary ones, I answered. Stability will come. Not immediately, but it will. She was correct about the sequence. It didn't come immediately. I maintained my operational routine. Gym, office, home. I stopped meal planning for 2. I kept the bed at optimal size. When colleagues invited me to networking events, I attended. I didn't request permission from historical data. One evening, Walsh dragged me to trivia night at the sports bar. A woman named Diana sat across from me, asked about my car, and corrected me when I miscalculated a geography answer. She wasn't damage control, she was oxygen. I didn't make commitments. I scheduled another coffee meeting. That was the extent. My ex-wife, she didn't prefer the terminology, but labels are earned. Didn't release operational control easily. She left communications in the mailbox like we were in business school. She attempted to schedule meetings in the supermarket parking lot, starting with, "Can we please just negotiate?" and ending with, "You owe me consideration." I provided her the same response each time. "I owe you transparency." You received it. The remainder is documentation. The day the papers finalized, I didn't organize a celebration. I went to work, completed solid performance, and drove home on a route that looked identical but didn't feel like a recurring loop. I parked, sat for a minute, and let silence be silence. I see my colleagues more now, not as distraction, just as sustainable social operations. There's poker night at Kevin's garage where the buy-in is reasonable and the conversation is better than the cards. There are Saturdays where I drive past the river with no one managing my schedule. There's Diana, who still doesn't let me approximate on trivia answers and doesn't treat me like a rehabilitation project. She asks where I want to go on Sundays and means it. People ask if I miss my marriage. I miss the version I invested in. That one was clean operations. The version I had at termination was a performance with too many outside consultants. She didn't get the house, she didn't get the investment portfolio, she received what made financial sense and nothing you could leverage into bonuses. I didn't destroy her career prospects. I just closed mine to her access. She relocated to a smaller operation across town with limited amenities. I hear updates from people who still maintain her professional network. How she presents the story depends on the audience she's addressing. Sometimes I'm the antagonist. Sometimes I'm the obstacle she had to navigate. It doesn't affect my operations. She's pursuing sympathy. I'm not in that market. The only thing I regret is the time I spent explaining fundamentals to someone who had already enrolled in different curriculum. I provided communication. She provided misdirection. In the end, I delivered the one thing she kept claiming she wanted: independence. There's a simple principle I keep posted in my office now, a reminder written on professional letterhead. It isn't motivational wisdom or something you'd frame for inspiration. It's operational. Respect is the first invoice due. When it's not paid, you terminate the service. You don't issue warnings. You don't extend credit. You don't count to 3. You shut it down and you move forward. That's not cruelty. That's business management. And life, it turns out, operates better when you maintain what's yours and stop subsidizing what isn't. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the analysis, hit the like button. I'd really appreciate your subscription. It seriously motivates me to keep producing content, and I'm excited to read your feedback in the comments. Let me tell you something about recovery that the self-help industry won't sell you. It's not a linear progression from broken to whole. It's more like restructuring a failing company. You audit everything, cut what's hemorrhaging resources, and rebuild from profitable fundamentals. 6 months after the papers were final, I was reviewing quarterly performance at my desk when Kevin walked in with coffee and that look men get when they're about to say something important. "You look different," he said. "Different how?" "Like you sleep through the night." He was right. I did. For the first time in years, I wasn't managing someone else's crisis budget. The thing about toxic partnerships, whether business or personal, is how they normalize dysfunction. You start accepting late reports as standard procedure. You budget for excuses. You plan around unreliability. When you terminate those operations, the silence feels wrong at first, like missing a deadline. Your brain keeps checking for problems that aren't there. Diana helped with that transition, not through therapy or emotional processing, but through simple consistency. When she said she'd call Tuesday, she called Tuesday. When she scheduled dinner, she showed up. Revolutionary concepts in my recent history. We were at trivia night when she asked about my ex-wife. Direct question, no corporate euphemisms. Do you hate her? I considered this while calculating the answer to a sports question. No. Hate requires ongoing investment. I divested. She laughed. You talk like a business merger, because that's what marriage is. 2. Entities combining resources for mutual benefit. When one partner operates in bad faith, you dissolve the agreement. Some people would call that cold. Some people subsidize failure and call it love. Diana nodded, like this made perfect sense. Because it did. The house feels different now. Larger somehow, though I didn't add square footage. I renovated the home office, installed better lighting, bought furniture that serves my purposes instead of maintaining appearances. I cook for one without apology. I watch what I want on television. I make plans without consulting anyone's hidden calendar. These aren't consolation prizes. These are operational improvements. My ex-wife's story, as it filters back through mutual connections, has evolved into several versions. In one, I was controlling and abusive. In another, I was emotionally unavailable. The latest claims I was having an affair myself. Classic deflection strategy. When your performance metrics are indefensible, you attack the auditor's credentials. I don't correct these narratives. Truth doesn't require my marketing department. The financial settlement was exactly what I documented. Fair, legal, and final. She retained her vehicle, personal belongings, and half the joint savings account she hadn't contributed to in 2 years. No alimony because our marriage was brief and we both maintained careers. No ongoing obligations because I documented her independent choices. Clean separation, professional execution. Rachel still works in our industry. We maintain polite acknowledgement at networking events. She's learned not to approach me with reconciliation proposals or emotional appeals. Business is business. Mrs. Rodriguez was right about stability arriving eventually. It came quietly, without announcement or celebration. One morning, I realized I hadn't checked my phone for crisis messages. Another day, I forgot to scan parking lots for my ex-wife's car. Recovery isn't dramatic. It's mundane efficiency replacing chaos. Diana and I have been seeing each other for 8 months now. She has her own place, her own career, her own complete life that doesn't require my management. We discuss merger possibilities sometimes, but carefully. Both of us understand due diligence. When people ask for relationship advice, I give them the same framework I use for business decisions. Evaluate performance against stated objectives. Document patterns over time. Address problems directly with clear communication. If performance doesn't improve after reasonable intervention, terminate the contract. Don't subsidize failure. Don't negotiate with competitors. Don't extend credit to bad faith actors. This isn't romantic, but romance without respect is just expensive entertainment. The principle I keep posted in my office has become standard operating procedure for all my relationships now. Professional, personal, social. Respect is the first invoice due. When it's not paid, you terminate the service. No warnings, no extended payment plans, no emotional appeals. You shut it down and move forward. Some people call this approach harsh. These are usually people who've never run anything successfully. Others recognize it as essential maintenance. These are people who understand that protecting what works is more important than fixing what doesn't. I sleep well now because I know my resources are allocated properly. My time goes to people who value it. My energy supports operations that generate positive returns. My attention is no longer divided between what I'm building and what I'm cleaning up. That's not coldness, that's optimization. And life, it turns out, operates much better when you maintain what's yours and stop subsidizing what isn't. The best revenge isn't living well, it's living efficiently. The best closure isn't forgiveness, it's indifference. The best outcome isn't winning, it's not playing games that waste your resources. I learned to stop arguing with people who had already chosen different priorities. I learned to stop explaining respect to people who had decided it was negotiable. Most importantly, I learned that walking away from something broken isn't giving up. It's resource allocation. And proper resource allocation, whether in business or personal life, is the foundation of every success story worth telling. Thanks for listening. Hit subscribe if this resonated with you. Share your thoughts in the comments. And remember, your most valuable asset isn't your house or your portfolio. It's your standards. Maintain them accordingly.